My name is Nate Sheaffer, and I was born in Liverpool, Pennsylvania. I go back and forth from identifying with a glassblower and being a glassblower, having put the necessary hours to become a really good neon glassblower, to my original beginnings as an artist of doing a lot of welding and found object assembly. And I like to think that I'm just pulling anything, any influence I can see at the moment with any materials and mashing it up in whatever pleases me at the moment. In 1984, I started taking studio sculpture classes with Robert Howard at UNC. And he was a stickler for teaching sculptors and artists about space, negative space, positive space, the materials use, and the space the material creates where there is no material. And I became fascinated with that idea, creating these large structures that had space within them that was interesting to look at in and of itself. My goal became draw a person's eye into what I had created, not just to look at the surface, to look at what the shape had created. And so I did that primarily with steel and some aluminum, made some large structures, and was recommended by Bob Howard to meet with Jerry No, who's a neon artist and a professor at UNC at the time. And Jerry was really one of the first people to gain some notoriety for using neon with his assemblies. I really became drawn into glassblowing through that, but in order to create lighting within these large pieces. And that set me down a path towards glassblowing that I obviously have not veered far from. My fascination with neon and glassblowing came really because I was drawn to lighting and asked that question that has become my reason for making everything I make. I asked the question, how did they do that? I was fascinated by what it takes to get light captured inside a tube that is then glowing. It's totally up to you, to any individual, to make their creative life. And I did not see this for the longest time. I had to be reminded by a good friend who's a successful, talented artist, William Moore. He's a sculptor and a good friend of mine. And I reconnected with William Moore not long before my daughter went back to school. And he has been a stay-at-home dad and full-time artist for 15 years, and he never slowed down. He just found ways to create. And it might not be exactly the materials he wants to create with, but he's making something every day. And that told me, when I finally put it together, that I am my obstacle, not the fact that I'm taking care of my children. If I'm really a creative person, I'm going to be creative with everything that I do with them. It's amazing how every day I wake up, I will have a conversation with my kids, and ultimately they're talking about making things. They're talking about what they can make out of this or that, whether it's Legos, or last night they were assembling sculpture at the table using queso and tortilla chips. I think about, in general, making someone, an anonymous person, a viewer, say, how did he do that? But when I really come down to the nitty-gritty of who I want to say that, I want my kids to say that.